right, guys, Roman Lost Podcast. Today is going to be the first episode back, season 2. Last season was very short, but you know what? I learned a lot, and coming back hard on this one. Got an all new setup. It is fantastic. So today we are going to be talking with Jordan and Michael and Corey. So Lost Sasquatch and Overland Bound. Those were the other two guys, other two groups to help me on the cleanup. And if you don't know anything about the cleanup, you can go to the website roaminglost.co. There's a whole blog post on that, and you can see like visualization of what we did. But we did about 30,000 pounds of trash out of public land, and we had about 275 people, maybe 300 show up, and we just had a good time and camped and cleaned up, and we did a huge raffle. It was overall a great time. You can also check out a video that Overland Bound has on their channel on YouTube. So yeah, we're gonna give them a call and jump into it. We're just gonna review, the day or the weekend and how it went, and yeah. So here it is. Let's give them a call. We can just jump into it and talk about maybe what you guys kind of your direct afterthought on that Sunday about maybe even the experience with BLM and just the overall thoughts, it was, for me, is pretty overwhelming to hear the number 30,000 pounds. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can speak to the energy and vibe of people coming, like showing up, and there's like a slight echo. Is it? I have headphones in.
Yeah.
Michael,
I have headphones in.
Yeah.
Is it because I'm on speaker? Yes. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I don't have an echo.
Well, there you go.
You smelt it, you dealt it. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Jordan.
Uh-huh.
Try headphones, dipshit. Wait, are you recording?
I am. I'm definitely recording. That's the opening line right there.
I didn't show Michael, but Jordan got a nice piece of advice on YouTube this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay,
yeah. So good.
It's always good to have helpful advice to set us straight. Yeah, just a lovely comment this morning when I was drinking my coffee that told me to, what was it? It was like, get better music, dipshit.
Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you. Noted. Thank you. Very noted. I will do that. I hadn't thought of that, but now that you told me. I literally told Kat, I walked up to her and I was like, someone on the internet called me a dipshit. And she spit her tea across the room.
Sorry, guys, like I'm doing right now. Oh, my God. Kingston, you can't put that in the podcast without context.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's a great place. It is.
It is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now that that's all good. Okay. So okay. I'll talk about people and how they showed up and the general like openness and willingness everyone had. There wasn't a single D-bag in the entire mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no egos, no awkward person, random awkward guy. It was all really chill people.
Yeah, I think you had.
What is wrong with awkward guys? I'm awkward.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to talk about my truck and how well the engine ran, and then it didn't overheat.
Yeah, you were going full force with putting the trash inside the car.
I did.
Kingston, do you know that I'm on day 3 of detailing the interior of our truck?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, wow.
Because every time I do like a pass at it, then 24 hours later, there's a new layer of super fine dust sitting on the dashboard. So then I have to treat it again. And then 24 hours later, there's a new layer of super fine dust.
Yeah.
Like that was no joke out there.
Yeah. You need like a to air it, like to, pressure air it all out basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I use the leaf blower. That helps.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah.
So Michael, are we in the club together with vehicles overheating in the Joshua Tree event?
Actually, no, mine did not overheat.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't tow any vehicles.
Yeah, I wanted to give Nick some crap with the Ford Raptor and 500 plus horsepower for taking the Geo frame, and then left me with the Chevy Blazer. I'm just digging it, Nick. The heaviest of the vehicles was mine. Actually, I think the funniest one was the one that Eric from American Overland took, because it was on its hood. It's on its lid.
It was on the roof.
Yeah.
So that thing slid like butter.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy just to see that even happening.
Yeah, it was cool. We have some really cool footage.
Oh, I was just saying that you got to kind of get a whole, you talked to everyone as you gave out the raffle tickets. So you got the firsthand, responses and replies.
Yeah. So I was working check-in with a few other people, and there wasn't a single person who came up that wasn't completely like pleasant and enjoyable. And the attitude throughout the entire weekend is, where do I go? How do I help? What needs to be done? Do I need to go get anything? Does anybody else need any help?
Yeah.
And so once you guys had dispersed to the different locations, we had a constant stream of people coming in after the initial start time. And it was great to turn around and just point to the hillside, because the hillside was lit up with vehicles. Yeah. I would point in the distance and see, do you see that cluster of vehicles shimmering on the hillside? And each person was like, yes. I'm like, great. All you have to do is drive that direction.
Yeah. Super easy.
And yeah, it was super easy, so accessible. And again, it was just a really nice experience, because there were no egos. There was no, I was telling Michael after, there was no like, how there's always that person in a group.
No.
Like just that person, they're like 2 clicks off. There wasn't a single.
I'm that person.
I know you're that person. There wasn't anybody who came in with an edge or a chip on their shoulder or whatever. I know I'm being very like general right now, but the tone and the friendliness really helped to make the event that much more successful, because everyone's out there ready to get their hands dirty, get their vehicles dirty, roll up their sleeves and work. And if you're going to be in the middle of the desert in an 85-degree day at 2 p.m. with no shade, you might as well be hanging out with people who are hella nice, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm from California, and I can say
I think in general, I think in general people are nice, right? Like, I'm definitely an altruist about people. It's not that, and I think it's events like this where you really see that people do want to help. They do want to do the right, they do want to do the right thing. And, one thing to acknowledge too is that, even the trash that's out there, you can imagine that a lot of it is due to economic pressures that you can tell by seeing what trash is there, that, some people opt to dump it instead of pay the dump fee. And that must be a terrible position to be in, right? So, I mean, everybody else that's out there is like, okay, well, I'm in a position where I can come out here and volunteer my time to try and clean up the park. And, like Corey was saying, everybody was really collaborative. Out on the, once we got out away from base camp, and, we actually all had our vehicles out in those canyons and ravines where we come across, deposits of trash. Immediately, everybody was, coming together to say, okay, so what's the game plan here? Lots of glass. Clearly, we can't get all of that. So how are we going to do this? And then everybody just kind of collaborated and came up with a game plan. And we got the trips going back and forth pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think. No, Jordan, go ahead.
I was going to say, even at the end of the entire event, I think I probably tested some people's patience there by when I was finishing up kind of my last sentence there, and I was like, "Oh yeah, look over at our three trash cans." And
that was awesome.
I was like, "Well, if anyone has an extra 30 minutes here before you leave, let's fill that last trash can up." And I'm pretty sure every single person that just headed on over there, like, bring it, Yeah, very cool to see.
Yeah, it was. It's nice to think that this is like kind of pretty low maintenance event. I mean, we really, it's a kind of like a bring your own kind of event, but it's also like bring your own problem solving and all that. We kind of just facilitate it, but it shows like that all the people are, obviously all there for the same reason, and super, super helpful. Like, like everyone just, I got so many messages about like, do you guys need anything, or like, water, trash cans or bags, or, all kinds of different things that people are offering up.
We've worked with Michael and Overland Bound, and I have worked with some really tremendous land use advocates, especially in the off-road space. And one of them is a gentleman named Del Albright. And he said something to us a couple years ago that I think we've really embodied. And the gist of it is, if you enjoy off-road recreation, volunteer 1 day a year. 1 day a year. Like at the minimum, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So if everybody puts in that 1 day, then land use and the whole conversation around access to public land, it becomes you're taking one thing off the table, right? How public lands are treated and cleaning them up, like let's take that conversation off the table because it's being handled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that the Joshua tree and the location of it gave such a great opportunity for so many recreationalists and everything from full-time overlanders to somebody who just goes out on the weekend, all had an opportunity to pitch in.
Yeah, actually, that's the reason why it's public land cleanup now, is because of the first event. It was literally that. It was people already in so it was for when the state or the national park was closed down, and there's already people out there or groups out there that took care of the park. So when we got there, we were like, they're basically like, we don't need your help. And I was like, okay, so where do we go? So yeah,
look where they pointed you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the love and attention was needed.
Yeah, and I knew about that place beforehand, and as a reminder of that area, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, that's like a great place to go, because that is like the number one overflow camping for the park, because the park gets filled up so easily. So all kinds of people go out there, and the mention of people just using it as basically a public landfill it's because maybe people can't afford to bring it to the landfill or pay for trash services or whatever. So that's a whole other conversation that maybe the city has to address. But I think if I remember correctly, when Michael was saying, just leading by example in that first talk, that first day, I think that's really the only way to take that conversation off the table, is just keep on doing what we're doing. And then hopefully people just do it without, getting hundreds of people together. It's just like an everyday thing.
Yeah. And that, man, I've seen that make such a difference. Like, don't be discouraged if you feel like leading by example isn't enough. It actually has a huge impact. When people see, that you're scouting your own base camp, before you roll out and picking up not only your trash, but other people's trash as well. Other people start doing it too, and that spreads right away because, in their heart of hearts, they know that that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. And
then on a larger scale, like with this event that you guys really organized, that serves as a larger example for a larger group of people for bigger jobs, and that, hey, you can take the initiative and go out there and actually make a difference.
Yeah. I think it was a goal, like a personal goal, was to not just reach off-roaders. It was pretty much anyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I will mention, it's not the off-roaders who are out there dumping their trash.
Oh yeah. I could agree with that.
And it's not a finger pointing thing. I think it's just us. It's a responsible thing to mention. It's our community that's out there cleaning it up. It is, important to reach beyond our own community, as you said, to lead by example, and have other people adopt that behavior as well.
Yeah, totally. So overall, it was pretty successful. I think the original goal was four containers, but we didn't get the 4, but we got 3. But I think, Jordan, do you remember what last year was? Wait, 15,000?
16,000.
So, yep. I mean, we pretty much doubled it, I would say. So, yeah. I mean, that's not nothing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a huge, I mean, that really makes a difference.
Yeah. And I don't even think it was that many more people, but yeah, I think that's the fact that there was like the dumpsters there and like this like mental, goal to fill 2. And, it was amazing that the 3rd showed up. And, I mean, if there was 4, I think that we would have filled those all 4.
Agreed.
Yeah. And having the first 2 basically be filled by 1 p.m. first day.
Yeah.
And then having that pile sitting there. And I remember I was talking with Colin from the Desert Cleanse Project, who's a local there to Joshua Tree. And we even did like a little, or Michael, you did this, right? It was like a little hat passed around to try and help him.
Yep.
He was like, I'm there. I got it. I can get this pile. Just keep piling it up. I don't want to waste all the hands that are here.
Yeah.
And so we had like a little donation going around for him. And then luckily that 3rd dumpster showed up and we got to get rid of a big pile of it, or a big portion of that pile. But there was still, probably a good few truckloads that he had been sending me photos since we went and cleaned up. And he's been out there every single day basically and cleaned up the rest of the stuff that we had there. And it was really cool to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when I ran around with the hat and said, hey, we're doing a pass the hat for him, everybody was like, "Yep, here you go. Here's contribution," because that the truck that he runs, it doesn't run on air, and
yep.
It's a lot of time and it's money. It's real money. So it was great that everybody's helped him to supplement those costs. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah. He does that every day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So after the cleanup, it'd be interesting because I kind of laid out the question, what would make the event better? And I think, we've been talking about, well, like, how does it grow? And I've talked to other people about how, like, where does it go next? That whole thing. And I was curious because I don't think we really chatted about it afterwards, but I was curious of what you guys thought.
Yes, I mean, one of the largest things, and I talked to a few people who are very excited to help in a bigger scale next time. But I think one would be like some actual machinery to help do some of the larger heavy lifting in terms of like maybe a backhoe specific truck dedicated to hauling larger pieces of trash out of the desert, so we're not completely destroying our own vehicles getting them out there, but different things like that. And I know that there are quite a few companies actually now who are willing to rent that stuff for the weekend.
Yeah. Did you see that Barstow cleanup? They did have, I believe they had, or the Tacoma Beast cleanup. They all happened like super recently.
Yeah, it was actually crazy how many different cleanups happened within like a week of ourselves. I know. I saw the Tacoma Beast one. They did about 2 dumpsters full out of, I forget the area that they were in, but then the Barstow, I believe it was the Clean Desert something. I'll have to look the name up in a sec. But I messaged them and I actually have a call with them this week because I just wanted to see how they're organizing things, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they had 10 dumpsters out there.
Whoa, really?
Also, they had 10. Also, something very cool is they had each dumpster had a designated material type. So I saw a couple of them had metal, a couple of them were like plastic, some were tires,
a
whole bunch of different stuff. And I believe that is the proper way to go about it. So, well, at least not proper, being that I think that way makes it way easier on the dump side and all the people actually working to get rid of this material and put it into the proper places.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and probably sustainability, or be able to reuse some of that stuff instead of just going into the ground somewhere.
Yep. Think of how much metal there was out there, right? If we could just exclusively metal.
Yeah, because Colin did last year, took a bunch of metal on his own to I believe you can make money off the scrap, right? So he took the money.
He was also telling me that all the tires that he took last year went to a couple local racetracks as bumpers for the side of the racetrack.
Right. Well, I can speak to what we're building, from an Overland Bound perspective. In November of 2020, we are beginning to plan for a global effort with a call to action for Overland Bound members and heck non-members, it doesn't matter to us, to all be working on the same day. So we have members who organize Trail Guardian cleanup in the UK. We have a member in France who is constantly cleaning up trails out there. And we have people scattered all over the world, right? So we're going to coordinate and try and get everybody to go out on the same day so that the visibility becomes as large as possible. That aspect of using social media to blast out a message, en masse is really important. And also, Michael can speak to it more, but from the software side of things with our resource map, we will be building in a functionality to not just hit an SOS for yourself if something happens on the trail, but to have an opportunity to flag an area that is in need of additional assistance when it comes to it being trashed or damaged or, fill in the blank. Yeah. And if a spot keeps getting flagged as needing help, then that puts a signal out to us that we should help organize something so that there's more hands coming in to help.
Yeah, the key is to make that super easy. And Overland Bound is a workforce, heavily concentrated here in North America, but also, as Corey was mentioning, in the UK and Australia, we're boots on the ground. And that's, as you guys, and the group during this cleanup demonstrated, really the important thing is to put boots on the ground and get some work done. So the key is to make it super easy so that somebody they don't have to address the problem while they're there. All they have to do is click a button on their app and flag it as an area that needs help, so that we can then, other members can go out there and clean it up.
Yeah, that's a really cool feature.
Yeah.
I know that would have been something really cool to use on a few of my previous trips. Now it's like I'm trying to go back through all my Gaia stuff, and I was like, where was that section? I think one of the other worst ones I've ever seen was at the I don't know if you ever done the Bradshaw Trail, coming out from the Salton Sea going east. Mm-hmm. But there's another section out there that I was just destroyed. And so that would be very cool.
And you want to do something, right? Because It does happen. You get out there and you're like, man, there is just no way I can personally put a dent in this, right now. There's just too much. So, by just being able to mark an area as a problem area, you are at least doing something and alerting the community that there's an issue out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that will be super useful when we want to change locations or add locations or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, a lot of people are asking, are you going to do it in different areas? And I think the logistics of that are a little bit. It's obviously tougher because then you got to start talking to different people. But it would be great to have a location with enough time to do so.
Yeah, it gives validation to the fact, or I guess the grandeur of how big of an issue that was right there in that Joshua Tree BLM. And I think we were talking about it a little earlier, but there's kind of a triple threat kind of thing that goes on in these different pieces of land. Because one, Kingston, you were saying this is one of the major national park overflow campsites. So you have a lot of people going out there that were expecting to camp in a regular campsite with bathrooms and trash cans and stuff like that. They get unprepared. It's also very easily accessible by almost any vehicle. So trailers and stuff like that, where the illegal dumping does happen out there, and it's very easy to do so. And then the third thing I would think is kind of all the shop trash. People going out there and shooting up, random different appliances and whatnot, and thinking it's okay to leave the fridge out there once you're done shooting it.
With the Tacoma Beast cleanup, I remember them saying, I think this was in Arizona. They had it in Arizona. They passed a bill or law or whatever saying it's illegal to bring basically shot trash out there. So that's why part of the reason why they only filled up two dumpsters from, what I could got out of the video is it's because of that law, basically eliminating big pieces of trash, like hot water heaters and, washers and dryers, and which is an interesting way of attacking the issue as well, as having something like a bill kind of like that, or helping show proof of why that should happen in certain areas too, especially with the area. I mean, we were in, because it is legal to shoot there. So
yeah, having something like that would definitely mitigate a lot of that. And I also know, I believe that the BLM, I think the main reason they use this is when it's illegal hunting and whatnot. But there are different types of remote surveillance stuff that, signs saying you're on camera, even though you're way out in the middle of some BLM.
Yeah.
There are ways that, you can search for that and actually, hold people to their words saying, it's illegal and you could actually get caught doing this stuff.
Yeah, I think that would be one of their biggest problems is actually having someone, go out there and check. I can imagine them having the manpower to do that every day.
Yeah.
So with the future of the cleanup, what about the number one thing that people commented was music? Should we add music? Or
that's an easy win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Right? So there's two sides of it. There's the late night music, and then there's just the hey, let's all get together for dinner after this hard day's work and have some music and dinner. That'd be awesome, right? Music, easy win, right?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome to have some kind of while people are having their food and have some music. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think another one was potluck, is having everyone kind of come for dinner instead of off of into their like little groups, which is fine too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people can obviously do that.
No, that's the reason why when we do the rally in the Sierras, we have it catered. And it's not so that everybody has a bougie experience. It's so that people don't go off into their little corners.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the bring a chair, bring your drinks, and then a plate and utensils, and
people end up
grab
eating
some
together.
food.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we can find,
It's really good for community building. Yeah.
For me, I wouldn't mind paying $15, to have somebody come out who can, cater it, like, or food truck, or, pot. Like, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. That'd be like a great way to get a company involved.
Yeah, I think
hey, help sponsor the end of the day meal.
100%.
Hamburgers and hot dogs.
That'd be awesome. In and out.
Yeah.
No, it is a great way to bring people together for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that location is totally fine for, getting someone out there too. It's not like it's super remote.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I was talking to Ali, who works at KC as well, and he had a helping hand at the time, and Randy and stuff, and they put on this summer camp event that they're trying to do, and he was telling me some of the things that helped and all that stuff in terms of building a community. And Ali was all like, next time you got to do we had such a fun time doing a gigantic tug of war. And I saw some of the footage from it, and it looked really cool. But a couple different fun activities like that, and food and everything to bring people together for sure.
Yeah, and I know. So I had mentioned our Dave Spinks, who's the one who he organizes. He's our West Europe director. He has organized the Trail Guardian event. He mentioned that he would love to, if we do a coordinated day, that at the end of their day, they get patched into like a Joshua Tree location, and there's some sort of broadcasted call, that the two groups can be connected to each other from around, across the world.
Yeah.
I love really that idea.
That's cool. That would be tough with time, right? Because if people are in Australia. I don't know.
Oh no, it's 8 hours. It's 8 hours to the UK.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if it's our 8, if it's our 9 o'clock, it's their 5.
That's not bad.
It would be wrapping up. We'd be starting. It would be, I don't know, it would be dope.
Yeah, that would be cool. And then we had August walking around playing music for different little groups of fire rings, basically, which was cool. And he just kind of went for it. He asked me, and I was like, yeah, I mean, go for it. I mean, by all means, you know what I mean? So, yeah, stuff like that would be really cool. I'm sure amplified music or whatever might not be the best way to start it off. It's not like Coachella or anything, but something like August, doing that was cool, but maybe just keep them in one area with the potluck going on and stuff. So basically all we would need is some tables for food and or get a food truck or whatever, and just have people, like you said, bring some chairs. Other one was a medical tent, which was really, really smart idea. So definitely going to have to attack more supplies on the safety side and obviously medical.
It would be great to also have to add into that mix along the same line of thinking, water stations and dust masks for people.
Yeah, definitely. Like
just
gloves and masks and the basics. But like other than those, like those few things, like I think just continuing the same conversation and just keep putting it out there. I think that's the best way to go. And then the video was awesome, Michael. And you put that together quite fast.
Cool.
So that was awesome, and it seemed to be well received, except for the guy trying to call me out on it. But
I didn't see that.
Just
I'll show you the comment. It's pretty funty.
I don't even know who it is.
Pretty great.
But yeah, I think things like that, obviously that has that conversation going past the weekend, and obviously talking about it on a podcast, next week or whenever I release it, we'll keep continuing that conversation. And I think that's the biggest part that we can all bring at, our three groups here, is to continue the conversation versus letting it die out with everyone else in that weekend,
Yep, that's a huge benefit of the effort. It's an additional benefit, of course, primary being let's get some trash out of the desert, but secondarily, let's also help to continue spreading the word through the efforts of everybody that showed up and picked up a shovel.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's like covers everything that I was going to talk about, but is there anything else you guys want to add or kind of like chat about or?
Well, for those that hear this, podcast after the fact, for those folks that were out there with us and or at other events, just thanks for the effort. I mean, everyone did a great job, and it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I think without them, there's no event.
Yep,
just be us just hanging out, camping.
I think, dude, I mean, it's an amazing community we got, and I think everyone gets beyond what I expected. The excitement level would be for going out and picking up trash all weekend, which is something that was just amazing. And I think we talked about this last time, Michael and Corey, but it would be fun because I know that some of the crew that was filming for me and a whole bunch of different people, we've got a little army here that really wants to put a longer kind of documentary style video together, and it would be fun to try and get it shown somewhere like Overland Expo or something like that, because I know we got a few more. What is it? There's one more expo that got put on the calendar this year.
Yeah, Colorado.
Yeah, for Colorado in August.
Yep.
Yeah. So doing something like that where we can get a lot more eyes on some of the effort and move this message along inside our community, and some events like that would be really fun. But
agreed. Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I think it's just keep on going at it and spreading that word. Well, Jordan, what's your plan for the video? Do you have like a shorter one coming out or?
I just tallied up how many gigs I have of footage. And it's about 410 gigs of footage from both events. The one being the previous one, and probably 60% of that being the most recent.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. There's also a lot of people I want to talk to on camera before I'm doing anything in terms of, proper land use, proper recycling, where the trash goes, why it's so important to keep these, sensitive deserts clean and different trails like that. So,
a little more education.
It'll be a fun process to build this story. But yeah, it's a big task. So
yeah, I don't blame you. It's a lot to take in, especially because if it's something that's gonna be more of like a statement and not just like, this year's trash cleanup. It's like, it'd be nice to show that something like that off at, like you said, Overland Expo, where it's, education along with it, which is awesome for people that on a much grander scale like that and in a public space would be really cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk on this weird new iPhone chat group thingy.
Of course.
Android.
Yeah. Thanks for putting it together.
Yeah. And this will be the first episode back for, I'm calling it season 2, but for the podcast. So I'm going to try to do it every week. And, this will be the kickoff so everyone can get caught up and should be fun.
Great.
Right on.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks, Kingston.
All right. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Kingston.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks again. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the podcast. You can check us out on roaminglost.co. That's where the blog will be updated as much as I possibly can. You can also search Roaming Lost on any of the other platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Highly recommend checking those out. Especially YouTube. We'll be posting the podcast up with a video. So if you listen to podcasts in that way, then check that out. And we'll see you at the next one. All right, guys. Thanks again. Adios.